Good evening and welcome to Series 2, Episode 9 of The Masked Cricketer. Obviously, no performances from me tonight. I think we saw enough of that last week with my rendition of Woodsy Marceau. I thought, miming was a bit of a dying breed, dying act, art form, whatever. So let's bring it back. So hopefully I managed to do that with a little bit of a smile on people's faces last week. Bringing it back, probably not after that performance, I would suggest. I have to say, we're trying to bring the nativity early to you tonight with obviously what I'm wearing. So obviously a little bit of a Christmas theme early for you guys out there. Sorry I mentioned the C word. I do apologise for that. I'm absolutely amazed with the guests we've got for you tonight. I'm absolutely buzzing. It's a classic, so I'm really looking forward to the next hour or so. Really excited. So I just want to mention initially, mentioned it last night on our promo. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel as yet, please do so. It's scrolling down the bottom there. Go on to YouTube, subscribe to The Masked Cricketer, and let's get up to 1,000 subscribers. That would be brilliant if we could do that. Your help would be very much appreciated. And as always, we're doing this for the Lord's Taverners. So there they are, giving young people a sporting chance, disabled and disadvantaged children. So please, if you can give any money at this time of the year, please do so generously on our Masked Cricketer Just Giving page. All in proceeds going to the Lord's Taverners. So I think without further ado, Kieran, hope you're well. And what have you got for us tonight pre the Masked Cricketer for hashtag Ask the Mask?
Well, I'm trying to work out again what you're dressed as. Is that I think we've seen that tash somewhere before, but it's not a tash tonight, is it? So it's a sort of, I don't know what is it? A new hairstyle. Thank you for not making me crease up laughing straight away tonight. That's quite helpful because last week it took me a long time to get over it. Somebody, Nick Rivets already said hook him off early. I agree, Nick. Actually, take him off early. That's a good idea. What did you think of last night's promo, everybody? Brilliant to see James Mockler on the show, just talking about his battle with lymphoma. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching it back. It's an inspirational young man who's battling lymphoma, and he's raising money for the NHS Trust that's helping him with his cancer battle. So brilliant to see him, brilliant to see all the Banbury people on there supporting that, and really good engagement and really good views. So please search for that as well. Yeah, we're doing this for the Lord's Taverners Cricket Charity, as Daryl said. We're looking to raise as much money as we can. We've got a target now of £5,000. The sooner we can get there, the sooner I can do my challenge with Simon Jones. Daryl's already jumping out of the aeroplane, of course, so that's a good challenge to have. Couple of thank yous as always. So thank you to Paul Humphreys from Pop Activation, our sponsor, one of our primary sponsors. He sponsored the shirt for the first charity match on the 31st of August. I dare say he'll probably be doing the same on the 31st of May. Thank you, Paul, as ever. Thank you to Graham Woodward from Great Minds, who is providing the prize tonight for the winner. A bottle of something nice, red or white, maybe something sparkling, perhaps ahead of Christmas. I have mentioned it there, Daryl. We are less than a month away now. No, we're not quite less than a month. Where are we? A month today, Christmas Eve. So thank you to Graham Woodward from Great Minds, and thank you to Lorna and Andy Bone from Sports Shots. They've shared all our content this evening, and they wrote a very nice article actually about us a couple of weeks ago, which we're really grateful for. So thank you very much. We've got lots and lots of concurrent viewers. We've already had a couple of guesses in, as we seem to most weeks. Sam King desperate to win it, and he's made another guess. I'll ask the Masked Cricketer that when he or she comes on the programme. I'm now monitoring, just to prove that I can multitask, Darryl, I'm monitoring YouTube and Facebook comments now, which is really good. So I'm getting there. As Daryl said, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel, we can get to 1,000 subscribers. That means that we can start raising money through the YouTube channel. We'll keep the Facebook channel running as well, of course, but the YouTube channel, go to YouTube, search The Masked Cricketer. Please subscribe and like all our content, and that will be a huge help to the charity. It'll be brilliant for us as well, because it allows everybody to watch back the previous episodes. I think that's probably my little promo done. I know that James Mockler and all the Banbury boys are watching. Thanks again, James, for yesterday. And Daryl, I think, I'm trying to work out what you're dressed as. I don't know.
I don't know what the flock I'm dressed as, actually, to be honest.
Very good.
There we go. There's a clue in the name, I would say. There's a clue in the name. But anyway, yes, I can see that our Masked Cricketer is all ready for us. So I'm really excited by this. I'm like a little kid. Here we go. Added tonight is our Masked Cricketer. Looking a little bit like the Grinch, I would say. Brilliant, brilliant outfit there. Thanks for joining us, Masked Cricketer. I'm going straight in with our normal question, and we have had it actually on here tonight. Has the Masked Cricketer ever played at Great and Little Chew?
Oh, it's a tickling stick.
It's a tickling stick. Down for no, up for yes, I believe. So down, never played at Great and Little Chew. So my next question, it's the normal one. Have you ever played in the Cherwell League? Oh, it's a no. It was close. It was close. Very good. Well, Kieran, you know what's coming next, don't you?
Just for Ian Royal, we've only got one more chance to say this before the leagues amalgamate. So, have you ever played in the OCA Cricket League, Masked Cricketer? They're thinking, what the heck is that? So,
yeah, interesting. Okay, I like it. That's interesting. Let's go there. Have you ever played first class cricket? I'm going straight in there, Kieran, tonight.
Ooh.
Yes, we have a first class.
I love the suspense with the Ken Dodd tickling stick. It's sort of we never know, do we? We never know. So, Sam, you've asked this several times in the last few weeks. No, so I'm not going to ask, are you my twin? That's really harsh. Are you my twin? That'll probably be a yes now, won't it?
Not twin.
Okay. Are you a bowler, Masked Cricketer?
Oh. Right. Okay. I'm going to ask, are you a batsman? Yeah, we've got a batsman.
Another batsman.
Over to you. I know there are questions.
I'm going to ask this because you always ask it, Daryl. Are you a left-handed batsman? Because Daryl always gets left-handed batsmen on.
Oh,
no!
Boo hiss.
We've got a right-handed batsman on for a change. There you go.
I can't believe it. I can't believe I've learned myself to get a right-hander on. So, terrible.
Okay, Masked Cricketer, are you still playing cricket? Not at the moment, by the looks of it.
Oh, it's a no. It's a no. Brilliant. Oh, have you played international cricket? Oh, I think that's a yes.
I do love this tickling stick. It's really good. We've had some good ways of answering the questions in the past, haven't we? So you play international cricket. Okay, we've got a couple of guesses. Are you Ian Bell? It's a good question because he doesn't play now, does he? So are you Ian Bell? No, not Ian Bell.
Thought we got Bally on there. Bally.
Not quite.
I suppose the next question is, have you played for England?
Surely no. Not another. Ooh.
Oh, yes. Another classic England player. Fantastic.
Oh, Daryl, what are you doing?
Throw this program together. Oh, yes, we do.
We certainly do.
We certainly do.
Okay. Right. So, are you male, Masked Cricketer? Are you a man with a beard like that? I'd suggest possibly. Yes. Okay. Okay. Brilliant. We've got loads of good guesses coming in. Oh, crikey. We've got lots and lots of questions coming in. So I'm going to ask it. I think Graham Thorpe might be left-handed, Paul, but are you Graham Thorpe? Obviously not.
Not Thorpe.
No.
Not Thorpe.
Okie dokie. All right. Loads and loads of questions coming. We've got loads of people watching as well, Darryl, which is good to see. So you asked whether you played for England. Are you over 50? Is it somebody for Darryl's over 50s side? Over 50 player. Okay.
Could you have played in the 2005 Ashes? Ooh. Could you have played in the 2005? It's a no. It's a no. I'm going to ask, though, have you played in an Ashes winning England team? Have we? Have we? We've done it again. We have done it. Another Ashes winner. Fantastic. Kieran, back to you.
Yeah, we've got some loads of questions. Lots of guesses coming in. So, are you David Lloyd? Are you Bumble?
Are you Bumble? Is it Bumble? No. Not Bumble. Right, okay.
Somebody just asked, are you getting hot? I think the answer is probably yes to
that. Dear, we do this every week. We try and keep them under there as long as possible, don't we? We are mean. We are very mean.
So you're an Ashes winner. Have you ever captained England? Have we got another ex-England captain?
Oh.
Yes. Wow.
Unbelievable. How many have we had now, Kieran? Several.
More than I care to shake a tickling stick at. But, hey.
What I'm trying to do here, Kieran, is keep the questions coming in for our masked cricketer. Get it? There's a question mark. Come on.
Very good. Yeah. Are you Nasser Hussain? No.
It's got to be Graham Gooch. Is it Graham Gooch?
Wow.
It's not Gucci. It's not Gucci.
I mean, if it was Graham Gooch, he hasn't come on with a mask on, has he? So,
that's true. Way.
We won't get Graham Gooch on now. I've said that.
That's done it, hasn't it?
Are you a Sky Sports pundit or commentator, masked cricketer? Or have you ever been? No. Okay. Are you Jack Russell? There's loads of guesses coming in.
What Jack Russell? He's a lefty. He's a lefty. Come on, guys. I don't know.
Okay.
We're very close, Kieran, aren't we, K-Dog?
We are indeed. Okay. County-wise, have you ever played for Yorkshire? No.
Yorkshire. Not Yorkshire. Very good. Has Reedy had a guest tonight, Kieran?
He hasn't had a guest tonight. He's still drinking his bottle of wine that he won a few weeks ago, probably. So,
Reedy.
Mike Simpson's asked if it's Gareth Andrew. I don't think Gareth Andrew's played in an Ashes winning side for England. Have you won more than one Ashes series, masked cricketer? Have you won the Ashes more than once?
Oh, absolute legend. I've taken it. You're not KP, are you? You're not Kevin Peterson. Have you played for Middlesex? Oh, I'm going to say this. Are you Beefy Botham? Another night? Have we got no, it's not Bothy. Okay. Kieran, I'm going in with these questions.
Yeah. Are you Ian Botham's friend? Are you friends with Ian Botham? That will give it away.
Oh, ish, maybe.
A little bit. Okay. Yeah.
should we got to put him out of his misery, haven't we?
I think so. So Wes Spearman said, "Did you win the Ashes in 1986-87?" Yeah, you did indeed. Yeah, we've had several guesses. So I unmasked last week, Daryl. So I'll let you unmask this because I'll just try and work out who guessed first.
Yes, I'm really chuffed to introduce to everybody, because I think it is who I think it is. Absolute legend, one of my favourite cricketers of all time, I have to say, hand on heart. So I'm really chuffed that I've got this person on tonight. It is the legend. Is it? Sorry, the legend that is Allan Lamb. Is it?
Yes,
It is
Allan Lamb. Yeah,
Jesus, and that was like,
and he is sweating buckets as well.
Yeah. Apologies for that, Lammy. I do apologise. We did try and say about 10 minutes, but it was a little bit over that. I think you were actually guessed. Somebody guessed straight away, actually, but we kept you under there a little bit.
Not quite straight away. Not quite.
How come he guessed it? What did he?
I think they might have taken my outfit as a bit of a clue. I don't know. They might allude to that as they come through with some more questions. How are you doing? What's life been like for you during this terrible pandemic that we've been through?
Well, it's been terrible, really. Sort of our events and hospitality and travel businesses basically just shut down. So we basically just hoping that things will get back to normal next year. So we just hope that, the vaccine can be found and people can sort of get back to normal ways of life, really. So it's been tough, but we've been based out in the country, so we've been able to get outdoors and that type of stuff. So that has helped. But those poor people stuck in the cities in London, and that must have been awful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a nightmare, isn't it? I think we're very lucky in Oxfordshire. We've got some nice places that we can have a wander around, to be fair. I mean, lots of comments coming in already about another legend on the programme. Great to see Lammy and so on and so forth. So, Kieran, over to you. I know you've got some questions coming in. I'm going to go to you straight away.
Yeah, we've already got lots and lots of questions. So, Allan, just first of all, we'll talk about your county career, actually, because I think looking at this, you were a one-county player, really, weren't you? You played all your professional career with Northamptonshire. That's quite unusual, isn't it, that a player sticks with one county, but it must have been a county very close to your heart.
Yeah, I was sort of second choice to get into Northampton because they'd offered Peter Kirsten the contract when we came out here in 1977, and he then got offered the contract. We went back to South Africa, and he then signed for Derbyshire because Eddie Barlow was at Derbyshire with John Wright. You could have 3 overseas players. So he went to Derbyshire, and then they called me up over Christmas and asked if I'd come. So that was it. I never sort of looked back, really, and I think what sort of kept me at Northampton was I never sort of looked at 5-year contracts or big contracts. They were very 2-year contracts. The most was a 3-year contract. Otherwise, it was mainly 2-year contracts. So I think I always had the bartering power. So, of course, I had lots of offers from other counties when my contracts came to an end. But, Northampton kept me there, which was great.
And obviously, you formed the start of your career. You made your debut back in South Africa for Western Province at quite a young age, at 18 years old, and you were always a batsman. I mean, you sort of did that with the bowling. I see you haven't sort of taken too many wickets.
I should have stayed because 3 Test wickets. I mean, let me say 3 Test wickets. And Prabhakar never played since I got him out in Calcutta on a long Bob Willis run-up. So. No, as a kid, as an all-rounder growing up, I was an all-rounder. So I bowled and everything. And then, once I sort of got over to England, really. It's sort of the bowling sort of packed in, really, and I just concentrated on the batting.
And certainly, certainly the right decision. I mean, looking at your stats, I mean, Daryl's going to allude to some of the. I know you said beforehand you're not a stats person, but looking at some of the stats from your career, they really are sort of right up there with the best, really. So, just a quick question on Northampton. So, obviously, not a county that's renowned for winning lots and lots, but it must please you to see that they more than hold their own and actually have produced some pretty decent players in recent years as well, haven't they? That have perhaps gone on to bigger and better and played for England and such like. But it must still please you that Northampton are still sort of fighting on all fronts.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a look at the fantastic players Northampton's produced and the overseas players that they've had has been incredible. The big hurdle was they've never won the county championship, and that was one thing I tried very hard to win for them in 94, 95, when we sort of beat Warwickshire, and then they pipped us in the end, and we ended up coming third. But I've just been asked by Wisden to name the greatest ever Northampton side. So I've been sort of working on that team at the moment, and I'm looking back at some of the players pre-war and post-war. I mean, incredible. So sort of, I think that I'm going to tell Wisden that I think the players have got to have played sort of 80 to 100 test matches to qualify, for the greatest ever Northampton side. So watch Wisden. It'll be coming out shortly.
No, definitely worth reading that, because I know that they very often look at sort of naming these sort of superstar teams, and Northampton. Obviously, for us in Oxfordshire, it's a neighbouring county. We do sort of keep quite a close eye on them. We had one of our legends, Jack Brooks, obviously started his first class career with Northampton, so we've quite close to our heart, actually, Northamptonshire, and we do have quite good links with them as well. So. The question from Paul Fowler. So I'll go back to Daryl for some more in a minute. So Paul Fowler had said he read that you switched from a wicket keeper when you were younger. If that's the case, what was it that made you give that up? Is it just because wicket keepers are bonkers like Jack Russell?
I think no. I was at prep school and I was keeping wicket, and the teacher came to me and said, the teacher came. I said, listen. I want to bowl, man. I don't want to stand behind the stumps trying to catch the ball all the time. So you remember we used to have those kookaburras, the 1-seam, 2-seam kookaburras, and they used to swing all over the place. And I just managed to bowl medium pace with that swinging all over the place. It was brilliant. So that's how I ended up bowling right throughout my school career, and when I played sort of just at the start of Currie Cup and that type of stuff. So. That's what happened, really.
Fabulous. Darryl, I'm going to let you ask a few questions. I'm going to compile a few of the questions that are coming in. We're getting lots of questions coming in as we expected for a true. We use the word quite often, legend, but I think it's fair to say that we have certainly got a legend on the screen tonight, Allan. I alluded to being a little bit younger than Daryl, but I do remember seeing you play. I remember the World Cup final and such like. But I'll go back to Daryl and I'll bring some more questions in from the audience in a moment.
Yeah, I'm really keen to ask a few questions. I know there's one that has come through. Are you drinking a glass of Botham's red wine? Is that a Botham?
I think you better tell him to go to Specsavers. Because if this is red, then something's going wrong. You know what? It's a very cold night, so I thought a little sherry tonight just to warm the cockles.
Nice. So
I'm having a nice little Spanish sherry.
Very nice. Have you tried any of Botham's wines?
Yes, I have. He's, I think some of the wines are really good. His Pinot from New Zealand's very good. He's Cab Sab from Australia. So he's getting an all-round, Argentinian. So I think he's really got into it. Typical beef, he says to me, Lammy, I don't know why I was a cricketer. I should have been a winemaker. I said, oh, for God's sake. You wouldn't have got there if you weren't a cricketer to be a winemaker. He's now telling me, when I first met him, he never drank wine. and now all of a sudden he's the greatest winemaker ever. I love him, but that's beefy for you.
That's brilliant.
And Lord Botham now, my God, Lord Botham. Gee.
Lord Botham, yeah.
Lord.
Stop our captain.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, you've faced some really pretty quick bowlers in your time. Who sort of stands out for you as one of the most scariest to face, and perhaps the most difficult to play? Is that a different person, or is it?
Yeah. I think we played on a wicket in Jamaica, and I'm sure that if it had been televised, it was a test match we played in. I think it could have been '84, I think, and we had Greg Thomas just got into the team, and he was quick. And even Viv Richards said that was the quickest white man he had ever played against at Sabina Park, and he bowled really good. And it was a dodgy wicket, and they got 300, which we thought, well, we're in for a bit of a chance here. But their attack was Malcolm Marshall, Michael Holding, Joel Garner, and Patrick Patterson. So on a wicket that went up and down, and one took off from whenever you knew, that probably was the scariest wicket I've ever played on. And facing Joel Garner and Patterson on that was incredible, because I remember David Gower getting one that took off from Patterson and just hit his shoulder of his bat. He fended it off his chin, and the ball went over third man for 6. So it was quite a lethal wicket, and probably I would say Joel Garner and Patterson on that wicket were the most frightening bowlers I've played against. But probably the greatest bowler, I think, all round, and I played a lot against him, and we had lots of battles, was Malcolm Marshall.
A classic, and a total gentleman as well, I understand.
Wonderful guy, absolutely. He the West Indies never said a lot. Everyone said to me, "Hey guys, what was it like playing against the West Indies? Did they chirp you and whatever?" Now I got on quite well with them, always saying the odd thing to them. But the big thing about the West Indies, they never said anything to you because you weren't at the wicket that long, so it didn't really bother them. So they couldn't get into a conversation with you like the Aussies will bloody give you so much there for the hour or whatever. They just keep coming at you.
Oh, that's really good to hear. I mean, you were successful against the Windies, weren't you? I think 6 of your Test centuries were against them. Did you have a plan against that pace, or did you just like the ball coming onto the bat because that's what the sort of pitches you grew up on, or is that fair or not?
No, I played on quick wickets when I was brought up on quick wickets, and we had some fairly good bowlers in those days, and Pollocks and Rice and Proctors and those guys. So there were quick bowlers around then. And so playing against the West Indies was always a challenge. I played on quick wickets. And I think the big thing about quick bowling is you got to try rotate the strike, because you don't want to be facing 6 balls against Malcolm Marshall, because he's got a chance of getting you out. So what you've got to do is really rotate the strike, and always, stay on the outside of the ball. Once you get on the inside of the ball and the ball bounces, then you're in trouble, because it's going to hit you, or you're going to fend it off, or whatever. So if you can cut and pull against the West Indies and rotate the strike, then that's half your job done.
Good advice against the quicks, I would suggest. So that's really interesting. I definitely want to come back to a moment that I still get goosebumps about, and I want to do that a little bit later. That's in a 1987 World Cup match. So I will come back to that, because I think it's sort of paved the way a little bit to the way T20 is played now. But for the moment, I was going to ask, what sort of the sledging, obviously not so much from the Windies, but what was it like from the Aussies, and what classics did you hear or was against you?
I think the big thing was it was never like personally about your family and that. Where I think it got a little bit ugly, and you know, I think that's sort of it should be cut out. But I think the old banter and taking the piss and that is great. And you know, if someone can't handle it, then you know he shouldn't be playing. But he should be able to take a little bit of, you know, bit of flair. Say, you know, what are you doing here? I mean, are you sure you're a cricketer? Or, you know, just little chirps like that, just to get his feathers going. And when a player bites back at you, then you got him. Then you got him, because you know he's going to keep coming. It's those guys like Javed Miandad. You know, if you upset Javed Miandad or Allan Border, they didn't say a word, but they were not going to get out. They're going to make you suffer. So you shut up when they came into the wicket. But there's other players that you could just stir up a little bit. The probably greatest sledge to me was Dennis Lilly. Was a great mate of mine, and just talking about that wig I had on. We played when Dennis came over to play for Northampton. He only had 7 games and turned his ankle over. He wore that wig to open the bowling against Graham Gooch. And Graham saw him with this wig on. He was about to run up and stopped him. And he said to the umpire, "I'm not having him bowl with that wig on." And Gucci, you know, old Dennis turned around in typical Australian, you know, saw his swearing and sort of said, "Listen, it's not going to bother me wearing a wig or without one. I'm still going to get you out for nothing." And he walked back to his mom, ran up, and he nicked, caught behind. He said, "Now piss off." And he said, "You see, I don't need a wig to get you out." So that was Dennis. And Dennis was one of those guys, when he bowled, he ended up right next to you. And he'll tell you exactly, you know, what you were doing wrong and whatever. And then he used to have that thing with he used to flick the sweat across like this and then flick it at you. And you could taste it. It hit you in the face and you could smell Bundaberg and Coke. You know, that's what he used to do. And that was it. So I think probably Dennis, with me playing and missing, he kept running up and I kept missing. And I thought, "Oh, this is getting black." Anyway, he walked up to me and said, "Mate, do me a favor." I said, "What's your problem?" I don't, you know, shut up and that's all, go back. And he said, "No, mate, please, just let's make it easy. Hold the bat still and I'll aim at it. Okay? Have you got it?" And he walked off. And that was sort of Dennis, you know, just sort of little thing like that, you know. It was sort of just to get under the skin a little bit. But I just think in our time when we played, we had a rule that you always went into the fielding side dressing room after the game. So the batting side went into the fielding side, and you had drinks after the game. With the Aussies, we have a New Zealand, West Indies, we did it. But and that's how the relationship with Australia and England was. And you got to know the players. You know, I never forget getting to meet Tomo, all these guys, the heroes, these people that you played. So I think it made it a little bit easier because you got to know these guys and you didn't worry about them. Nothing was sort of, you knew what they were like off the field. So it wasn't a bother. But then that all changed. And that's when Bob Simpson decided that's enough. Australia become too soft. So he said to Allan Border, "That's it." We came over in 1990. Gucci was captain. He said, "That's it. No one, don't even greet the players. Don't speak to them on the field. We'll have a drink with them at the end of the series." That was it. And Gucci, the day we arrived, went up because Allan Border was playing for Essex in those days. Gucci went up to see Allan Border, and the message came back he was too busy. Now, guys just flown over from England. You'd normally come down and see him. So we got it straight from them. That was going to be the case. Listen, it helped them. You know, it changed the way Australia played. But I think in our time, they were still very hard in any case. I think they didn't take any prisoners.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I felt this once we come out of lockdown and we did play some of the cricket this year. I thought the spirit in which it was played was high, and there was a little bit more, you know, friendliness, if you like, and not so much sledging. Yeah, the odd comment, funny comment here and there, but in general, it's played in a great spirit, and I think that's really good to hear at the high level that it was like that, and it's like having a drink at the end of the game is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But everything's you've got to move on. Listen, when we played, it was totally different. I mean, the fitness and what you ate, what you drank, everything like that. There was nothing. We just made our own arrangements. But now they're on what they must eat, what they can drink, when they can go out. So, which is fair enough. They've all been paid sort of fairly big money now. They're true professionals, and it's good for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come to Kieran in a moment. So he's going to get. I'm sure he's got some questions to ask you. I'm just pointing down the bottom here, guys, to the Just Giving page for the Masked Cricketer for donations to the Lord's Taverners. If you've had some entertainment tonight, please do go to our Just Giving page, search the Masked Cricketer, and donate if you can. Not compulsory, of course, but please, if you can, that would be brilliant. Kieran, over to you.
Brilliant cause. So please, guys, donate.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Alan. Yeah, cheers, Daryl. Sorry, Alan. The reason I'm looking down is I'm sort of getting all the questions coming in and sort of trying to collate them all. We've had, as expected, quite a few questions. The one thing I want to say before we ask some questions, just to sort of prove what a player you were, that there are very many young people that watch this show every week, and there's one young lad. I think he's only probably 20 or 21 years old, and he remembers your career simply because he's watched back lots and lots of DVDs and stuff. And he's just mentioned. I think he's done you a bit of a disservice though. He said the very first time I ever saw Allan Lamb bat was on a DVD of England's best wins in the 80s. And on that DVD was the ODI against Australia in a B&H final. And it says you scored 14 off the last over against Bruce Reid. I think it might have been 18, potentially. And Phil de Freitas was at the other end. So obviously you remember that. I mean, Bruce Reid at the time was one of Australia's best bowlers, and you took him apart to win that game.
Yeah. I think... it became a mental thing in the end because I hadn't hit a boundary right up till the last over, and we had to get 18 to win the game off the last over, and I went to Phil de Freitas. He was sponsored by Slazenger, and so was I. So I said, "Listen, give me your bat. This bat I've got is absolutely crap." But a mental thing. There was probably nothing wrong with that bat in the end, but anyway. I took the bat and I knew, I said, I hadn't hit a boundary. I couldn't face the players. If I walked in, we hadn't won. So I was like so determined to win that. And we got 20 or 5 balls. So we won it, with 1 ball to spare.
Kieran, sorry. That was the game I was alluding to a little bit earlier. I still get goosebumps actually watching that game. It's especially that last over, but the game itself as well. It was a classic, and I suppose the natural question is, and I think it's come in from somebody here. It was the sort of thing that happens in T20 on quite a regular occurrence now, but it wasn't back then, was it? That was a sort of one-off back in the 80s. I mean, do you think how you would have fared in T20? Do you think you would have enjoyed that, relished that competition?
I think I would have done all right at, but I think if I look back, I think we always used to look, the last 20 overs. If you had the last 20 overs, you were chasing sort of 150, you had a good chance of getting them. That was those days. 150 came down to 10. If there was 60, we could get them. If anything from just over 6 or 7 runs over, I always backed myself to get them. Because I had a lot of inningses like that in one days and whatever, which we won. So to me, that worked out. So now 20 overs, they're getting 200. So, some are getting 220. So listen, the game has moved on so rapidly. But, I also think that talking about going back to the Aussies, it was Dean Jones with Bobby Simpson. They sort of changed the way Test cricket played because they ran off nearly every ball and they tried to score. They looked to score. It wasn't about occupying the crease and scoring 100 before lunch. They wanted like 150, 200 before lunch. So, end of play, we used to always say end of play. If you got to 200 or 230, fantastic. You had a great day, Now sides are ending up with 280. And that's what it is. So if you can end up with 300 in day one, which if you play properly and you don't lose wickets, it's quite easy. If you're getting 80 overs and you take 5 runs and over, it's quite simple, really. And I think that's what the Aussies done. So they changed the whole of Test cricket and brought the one game into Test cricket.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Kieran, I'm sorry to interrupt there, but that was a special moment for me in my sort of cricketing journey, if you like, because it was just tremendous. And I do love watching that back. Back to you, K-Dog. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I mean, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that he's created a legend status with people that are in the game now. Youngsters that actually watch back and see that. So we've got loads and loads of questions coming in. We're going to quickly, if we can, well, not quickly, it's quite a big part of your career. We're going to talk about the Ashes series and particularly 2 Ashes victories, Allan. Obviously, one at home, one away. You're in a fairly elite band, actually, of England players that have won home and away. Can you sort of say which of those 2 series, I mean, obviously both Ashes series, which one gave you more satisfaction, or were they both just as fantastic as each other?
I think winning in Australia, if you beat Australia in Australia, that is absolutely brilliant. I think in 1982, 83, we should have, we got a bit of some bad umpiring, and that we lost. We ended up, we lost that 2-1. It should have probably been 1-1, or we could have sneaked it. I don't know if you remember, Dyson was run out. And the picture was in the paper the following day in the Sydney Herald, and there's a picture, Dyson very close run out call. He wasn't in the photo, so I cut the photo out and I went to the umpire and I said, sorry, I think you need to go to Specsavers because I think this guy never even made it. So I don't know how you gave him not out, So he wasn't very happy with me. The Queensland umpire, I remember him. But I think beating Australia in Australia is the most brilliant thing because it shuts the ball down. Because, when you arrive in Australia, everyone's against you. You walk out in the shops or you anywhere you walk in Aussies, they tell you, "Piss off home, you bummies. What are you coming here for another beating? You convicts, get out of here." It was sort of, they just like at you all the time. So wherever you are, you walk into a pub, the same thing. So I think beating them there was brilliant, and we had a side. There were some good players, but not a. We struggled on the opening. We went out with hardly no openers, so it wasn't a really well balanced. But we managed to. Gat was captain with John Embry, and we had Beefy and Phil Edmonds, and we had the late Dilly, and we just managed to get the team together, and it was absolutely brilliant. That. I think the win in England was great. With David Gower, that was also fantastic. But I think winning in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I do vaguely remember the 86, 87. I think I remember listening to it under my covers when I was about 10 years old with sort of like headphones and a Walkman on because I wasn't supposed to because I would have been told off for school the next day. But I do remember that series, and I do remember listening to TMS and remember that really clearly. In terms of atmosphere, you mentioned obviously the Aussie crowd. I mean, a Boxing Day test at the MCG, that must have just been such an experience for you. 90,000, 100,000 people in the crowd, and it is an amazing atmosphere there, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable! I mean, that was just. I remember the series before when we beat them at Melbourne, and it came down to the last wicket where Allan and Jeff Thompson were batting at Melbourne, and they had to get 90 runs or 90 or 100 runs to win with 1 wicket left, and no one came to the game. There was no one in the crowd the following day. It was just the English supporters. No Aussies came, and by, I would say, 12 o'clock, the stadium started filling up, and the Aussies were getting closer and closer and closer. And let me tell you, by the time it came, they needed they needed about 4 or 5 runs. There were 60,000 people in that stadium. It just filled up from nowhere. And we ended up winning, by 1 run. Do you remember when Both came into bowl and Thompson nicked it and Miller dropped it and Tavares round and caught it at the back. So that was a fantastic moment. But I think Melbourne probably the most exciting. Once it's full, and you've got to be able to take the banter from the crowds. They're going, they're at you all the time and giving you play. But one thing is, if they throw anything at you, we have this. There used to be this. They called him Sarge. He was in the dressing room, and if it was Bay 13 anywhere around that area, if they hurled anything, we just reported it straight away, and he would go around, and they'd be watching on binoculars. So anyone stepped over the mark there, especially they could verbally say what they wanted, but if they threw anything, that's when they climbed in. And what they used to do is take them down they had a prison down at the bottom of Melbourne, and they used to lock them up in the ground and let them out after the game. So these guys used to sit there, hear the roar of the game. Now, let me tell you, that makes sure you won't be throwing anything on the field again.
No, I mean, I hear lots of stories about the Bay 13 and the roar there as well. And I've had the pleasure of spending a day at the Melbourne Test, not Boxing Day, but it was something to behold. And I've also, it's just an amazing venue, and it's an amazing amphitheatre, isn't it? The MCG is terrific. Just wanted to move on. Something I was going to ask you. I was always keen to ask this because David Gower talks about it quite candidly and quite a funny story. So moving on to 1990-91, and he talks about the game where I think you were out in the middle batting in a warm-up match for Tiger Moth Gate. And he said that he remembers that you sort of saw the tiger moth flying over and you were gesticulating. And I think he suggested that you knew it was him up there. And it's obviously a story that Gower tells quite a lot. I mean, what was the sort of the feeling in the dressing room? I mean, I know that tour management weren't very happy, but it was something that obviously was quite famous at the time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that David, if you had a look at his first class average, it was terrible because he just wanted to play the big occasion. When the test matches came, he turned it on, and that's how David was. So to play in a warm-up game, that wasn't him. So he went out to bat, probably hit 3-4s, and then got out, and he was bored. And we came in at lunchtime, and he said, "Have you got any money?" I was batting with Robin Smith, and I said, "Yeah." Well, he said, "I need $100. I said, "I've got $100. I said, "What do you want to?" He said, "I'm going to go for a trip up in this tiger moth that keeps flying around." I said, "For God's sake, don't come drop a water bomb on the lens while we're playing." And I just left it. It was like a flippant sort of remark, Anyway, we left it at that. And anyway, we were out batting and that. And then I did mention to the Queensland players, I said, "Guys, I think Gower had said to me, you know what he's like, he'd probably go and do it, but he's going to, these tiger moths that have been flying around, he's going to get into one and dive bomb us and chuck a water bomb out. So if you see this tiger moth come, everyone hit the deck." And that was it. So I was batting and standing there, and Craig McDermott was running into bowl. And as I saw this, he was coming in, there was this tiger moth just coming in like this. And I hit the deck like that. He hit the deck. Everyone went down. Anyway, I've sort of had my bat up like this, pretending to shoot at the tiger moth. there was David Gower looking down the side, waving. So, of course, I knew it was him. Anyway, after the game, the management come up to me and said, "Listen, who was that in the tiger moth?" So I said, "Well, I don't know. The guy had a thing." I said, "I haven't a clue who it was." Anyway, end of the game comes. Now I'm vice captain, so I'm on the disciplinary committee. So anyway, I get called in to say that we have a meeting with David Gower tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, to hear what the story is. So that evening, I go to David. I said, "We better go out and have a meeting. You've got to come up with some bloody good excuse." Anyway, we go out, and normally he goes and gets a couple of bottles of champagne, and he used to say we get the sword and knock the tops off. He loved that. So we used to, in Aussie, you can take your own champagne and wine to the restaurant and that. So David did that. We had a bottle or two, and so I said, "David, come up with a good story in the morning, okay? Because this is not, they are like really acid." So anyway, he walks in, and flippantly they say, he said, "Oh, well, what's the problem? You like just taking the piss and that." I thought, "No, this is not going to go down well." Anyway, they were furious. They asked him why he went and all this stuff. He never said that he borrowed the money from me, thank God. So anyway, that's it. They are now furious with his attitude. He walks out, all three, Gooch, Mickey Stewart, and Lush. That said, he's got to go home. I'm going to send him home with a $5,000 fine. That's a lot of money in those days. So I said, "No, guys, he's our best player. We've got injuries. There's no ways we can send him home." Meanwhile, I was thinking about the bloody $100 here. If he had gone, I would have not got my $100. Anyway, they didn't send him in the end, but he got fined. And there was that actor, Robin Asquith. He hired a tiger moth in Perth because that was our next game. And they flew this tiger moth around the ground to say, "Gower's innocent, pay back the money," and all this type of thing. So it just ramped up the stuff. And I think Gucci didn't see eye to eye with him because basically his training was not what Gucci did, run laps and exercise and that. David, that wasn't his game really. So they never really saw eye to eye. But that's really what happened, unfortunately. But it left a real sour taste at the end because we lost, I think, the series, and the whole tour went sort of downhill.
Yeah, it was a tour, wasn't it? Where I think Gooch suffered quite a nasty injury early on as well, didn't he, with the hand injury?
Yeah, he did his finger, and then it sort of went a little septic, and then he had to stay in Adelaide and had a big operation there.
Yeah, it was obviously one of those series where anything that sort of could go wrong sort of did go wrong in that one, I guess, really. But Daryl, back to you. I'm going to get a few more questions. I see we're getting close to the hour, so we'll round up a few more questions. And I know you've got a few more talking about the World Cup finals as well. But I'm just going to get a few more questions off the screen, and I'll hand back to you.
Obviously, I'm going down a track here that you faced. Lilly, Thompson, Marshall, Ambrose, Bishop, Patterson, Walsh, all these scary fast bowlers. But obviously the person that must have scared you the most, the person in front of you, was Anne Robinson on the weakest link. Is that
Oh God, Anne Robinson. I think Devon Malcolm may have been on that with us, but yes, I don't think I took to Anne very kindly, and her attitude. So I kept taking the piss, and she wasn't very happy with me. So I didn't think I was going to last too long on that, really. So I made sure that I got off there as quick as I could. So, and I don't think that was made for me. That what was it called again? The weakest link. Yeah, I was the weakest link. Don't you worry about that.
She must have been a formidable opponent, though. Must have.
God, yeah, she like bloody school teacher coming at you. I thought, no, I can't have this.
It's brilliant. I love that. I mean, obviously, I'm going to come on to your friendship with obviously Ian Botham. I'm going to call it a bromance. Is it a bromance? Was it a bromance? Is that fair to say, or is that the wrong terminology these days?
Well, I don't know. I think sort of we all. I think at our tour to Australia, I'd known Ian before, and David I'd played from 78 up to 81, 82, and then I got selected to play for England in 82 against Pakistan and India. And I think Ian and I got to know both of them, but I think when I started playing for England, they were really great. They sort of welcomed you on. There was always this feeling, South African born Allan coming in, it could be a bit difficult. Yeah, your players that may be standing, because a lot of people did moan. The press never felt it was right that I should have played and all that type of stuff. But if I look back now, the people that have played who come from there, I mean, I did it. Both parents were born in England. It wasn't grandfathers or late grandfathers or whatever. Both my parents came from London. So I did the qualification period for 4 years. A lot of media said I would have gone back to South Africa, and I'm just using England as sort of a base. It wasn't that. I mean, I'd made up my mind. I wanted to come and play for England, and that was it. So I think when you had Bob Willis and Ian Botham and David, and the senior guys come to you and say, "Hey, you're part of the team. We're all with you," So we really bonded well. And so, Ian lived the same sort of lifestyle. He loved a bit of fun and, outdoors and everything. And that's when we taught him how to, what wine was about in those days. He was just a beer drinker. So David was drunk fine wines. I'd come in from South Africa knowing about wine. So it was probably, we would say why Ian is now involved in wines because of David and myself teaching Ian about wine. So I hope he hears this. He may send me a case or two or put me on the non-list.
Sounds good to me.
We're certainly hoping to get a retweet from him, and hopefully maybe at some stage, a future Mars cricketer. Who knows? But,
well, yeah, definitely both of wines.
Yeah,
we'll promote both the wines for sure. Just from me, I wanted to just touch on the two World Cup finals, back-to-back World Cup finals that you played in. Both of them were obviously really narrow defeats, particularly the first one against the Australians in Calcutta in Eden Gardens. I mean, that must be, I suppose, an obvious question. One of the biggest regrets of your career, I guess, that you came so close but yet so far in both of those finals.
Yeah, I mean, the disappointing thing is when we were there and we didn't finish it off. I think Calcutta, we should have won that. I mean, Gat, played that reverse lap to Allan Border of all places with a man right there. I mean, he didn't have to. We were cruising the game, really. I also felt I'd done really well, chasing. I used to sort of, in that tournament, we got sort of, I used to finish off quite a few of the games at the end. So I think when it came to the final, we were chasing those runs. I think we got the batting order wrong. I think Gat should have probably gone 3 and I should have come 4. And I think that's where we got it wrong. And then what happened when Gat got out, the pressure fell because Balathi was still there, but not getting enough runs. So I think Gat was there just getting the runs going and we were ahead. So, I can't remember. I think batted 5 or 6 in that game, which was ridiculous. But that, to me, we should have won that. And then, I mean, Pakistan, we got back into the game. We probably, a couple of decisions didn't go right for us, but we still had a chance of winning that. And then, Wasm bowled incredible over. And that just changed the whole game. So there were 2 games where we could have won and we didn't. So, yeah. So
and I guess with the Pakistan game, of course, had there not been sort of weather interruptions earlier on, they may not have even reached the final. So I guess it was almost destined, I suppose, that that was going to happen.
I know, incredible. They came from nothing, beat New Zealand, and it was incredible.
Darren, I'll hand back to you. I've got the quick fire questions all lined up to finish off. I know you've got a few more things to ask, and then we'll come with the quick fire ones at the end.
I think, one thing I wanted to go back to was obviously the cricket back in South Africa. I just sort of asking you, I mean, might be a difficult question to answer, but was the standard when you came over here as high, or did you feel it was comparable, or was it better or worse? What's your thoughts?
Oh no, just very high. They would have taken any team. They could have probably beaten England. Would have beaten England. I would say they would have probably taken on Australia. They had a very good side. You got to remember that side that got in 72, 70. Then you had another side that was going to go to Australia. So I mean, you had the Richards, the Rices, the Pollocks. I mean, it was just abundance of players. That would have been playing. The Garth LaRue, Peter Kirsten, there was Jimmy Cook, just name it. The Hobson. They had a really, really strong side. So I think, they would have definitely been right up top of the world if they'd been playing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, to be honest. The other thing I normally ask at this point is, if you had a superpower, what would it be? What would your superpower be, Lemmy?
Well, at the moment, I'm so down in the dumps with this blooming COVID. Get a vaccine now, and we get taken it tomorrow, and we get back to normal life, because this is really, really just getting me.
That sounds like a plan.
Spot on. I mean, we myself and Kieran do a little radio show on a Friday night, and we did have an organisation on last Friday called Beyond the White Line, and we also had Martin Ball on, a previous president of the PCA. And I just sort of wanted to ask you, I don't know how tough it was when you came out of the professional game to get into what you're into now. Was there a lot of support back then, or was it you had to look after yourself?
No, really make your own arrangements. There wasn't. I don't think the PCA was that sort of large when we sort of came. I think everyone had to sort of fend for themselves. Of course, if you'd gone to the PCA, I'm sure they would have helped in some sort of way. I sort of packed in. I sort of went into commentary and sort of that, and then after that, I sort of set up events management business. So I've done everything sort of myself, and then I've just sort of stayed to that. So, I mean, I'm finding, we can't travel, and that's some of my business. We have a big sports travel business, taking people over, just not only for sports travel. We do a lot of food and wine tours and that type in different countries. So, that's all come to an end. So, we can't even plan anything at the moment because no one knows what's happening.
Very difficult. I seem to be a little bit of feedback when I'm speaking, so I do apologise if you're getting that, Lammy.
No, all clear, my side.
Good. One thing I do want to allude to, because I think it's an amazing stat for your career. I know you said to me off air that you're not really a stats person, but I will bring it up because I think your conversion rates in Test match cricket from 50s to 100 is an amazing stat. 18 50s and 14 100s. Was that just natural? You just came naturally to you just to move on? That concentration was easy for you to go on to get the big three figures?
I didn't really think about it, really. I think, it was always one of those, if you get to 50, you must get to 100. So I said it was probably harder getting to 50 than getting to 100. So I think that was, maybe I looked at it that way, but it never really bothered me. I just sort of, I don't know. As I said, I wasn't a stats man. I wouldn't have never known that if you hadn't brought it up.
That's really interesting. I think that's great. I'm a little bit with you. I tend to, when I was a kid, I used to write everything down. I used to every score I got, every catch, every over I bowled, I'd put it down. But that sort of went when I sort of got into beer, basically. It's interesting. I think you just play it, don't you, to enjoy it and do the best you can, when you're out in the middle.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, of course, there's a lot of pressure because, if you read the papers, they'll come up. You'll see your headlines. Lamb's got his last chance. He's failed in 2. He's got to be dropped. Why is he playing? And that. And all of a sudden, you get 100 and up that to the press again. He's back in for it. And Ian Botham got one of these nooses, right, with a rope and that. We used to have a box, and anyone who was struggling, the press would get it. We used to get on the noose and we used to hang it and say, guys, you don't get any runs, you're going to be hung from the noose because that's your last game, So, hey, it was tough, but I think, you read now what's happened to people where they're really struggling, confidence and all this type of stuff. So a little bit in our time, probably the guy was probably struggling. We didn't know really, but, we just felt it was normal because, if you couldn't do it, you couldn't do it. That was part of it. You weren't good enough, So, yes, so some people must have struggled with the way things were going around them, and we didn't know that. I mean, we read, with poor Robin Smith. I mean, what happened with him? I thought that's the last thing. I know he liked confidence. He liked people building him up when we were around him and that. And then, we all sort of left him and he sort of went a different way, really.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I was going to bring up is we do have a charity game that will be at Oxford Downs. I haven't mentioned Oxford Downs for some time. It's actually in my contract to flash that up a little bit, Lammy.
Oxford Downs, yeah.
Where is it? In Sun Lake in West Oxfordshire. It's a lovely little place. I do have to flash that up. It's a definite. But we have a charity game on the 31st of May next year. Hopefully, we can have more people than we had at our 31st August game this year. Right. We have 250. We're hoping for more on the 31st of May. But if you can make the 31st of May, it's Bank Holiday Monday. Please do join us. You can even play if you wanted to.
I think those days are gone.
Well, you can certainly have a glass of sherry or two.
All right, I'll think about it.
That'll be brilliant. Kieran, I know you've got some quick fire questions to finish off, so I'm going to go over to you.
Yeah, I have. Allan, the first one's one from me, actually. So Paul Fowler's just said that my stats and Daryl's stats are very similar, but they're not, because I am a hopeless batsman, absolutely terrible. And I was set a challenge a couple of weeks ago to face an over from Simon Jones. And this is somebody that can't bat. And I know Simon Jones is in his 40s now, but a little bit of advice from an expert against fast bowling, against somebody that's not very good. What would your advice be facing an over from Simon Jones? And you can't say run away from it. I've got to face it because it's for the charity.
Oh, my goodness. Well, number one, watch the ball, right? And don't take your eye off the ball, because once you take off the eyeball, you're going to get hit. So watch that ball, watch it out of his hand. And watch it and try to keep as still as you can. But if you have a look how many people get hit, as people that turn their heads away, I'm sure he's not going to bowl you a bouncer. But no. He may slip you one if you hit him for 4 or something. So just watch the ball. I think that's the key thing for any little kid listening to this is watch the ball. That's the main thing.
Brilliant, because that was one of the questions which I was going to close on, was any advice. I mean, obviously, you had a fantastically successful career. Every player starts somewhere. So your advice to a young up and coming batsman then would be that. Any other advice that you'd have for a young lad or lady coming through?
Yeah, I think for a lady or a guy, I think the big thing is that. Get a tennis ball and get someone to throw a tennis ball at you, and just at your head, underarm like that, and just watch it. And every time they throw it, I'll take you a bet you won't get hit by the tennis ball. Because why? You're watching the ball. So the big thing, is keep still at the crease and only move, once the ball is left the bowler's hand. So, the big thing is keep your eye on the ball, and watch the ball.
That's good advice. I shall practice that, Darryl. I'll get you to throw a tennis ball at me and I'll see how it goes. Just a couple of quick fire ones to finish then. So the first one, this doesn't have to be in first class cricket. Again, you're not a stats person, so you may not remember actually your highest ever score, be that professional or otherwise. Can you remember your highest ever, roughly?
Yeah, I've got 294 playing for with Allan Donald and Sylvester Clark for Orange Free State in the Currie Cup game in South Africa.
That's pretty decent. That's probably what I score in about 10 years. That's good. Allan, the best, I mean, obviously you've captained England a little bit, you've captained a lot yourself, but for you personally, the best captain that you ever played under, the best captain?
Well, we had a guy called Jim Watts when I first came to Northampton. And he was really good, but I think for the best captain who was probably Eddie Barlow when I came through as a kid. I think he was a guy that led from the front, and then you had a guy like Hilton Ackerman who played for Northampton too. He took over afterwards, so he was very different on guiding. So Eddie was very forceful and sort of on control, and everyone sort of had to find it. So probably I would say Eddie Barlow, because he was the ultimate. He opened the batting. It was all round. They got wickets, captained the side, and probably gave us the most to brought us through the ranks as a junior.
I was going to say, because I guess quite often the people that you play under, the captains that you play with, they can be real inspirations to you, can't they? And I guess that you had an inspiration in your early career, and would Eddie be one of those then?
Oh yeah, I mean, we sort of Mike Proctor, Eddie Barlow, Hilton Ackerman, Barry Richards. All those are the guys that I sort of was still at school and watch these guys get on the Union Castle and come out to play cricket in England. So when I was at school, I was always watching their results and seeing that. And I said, "Wow, I'd like to do that one day." So I looked at that. So it was sort of in the back of my mind. I always wanted to come and play a professional cricket in England. And lucky I got the chance in the break and that type of stuff. But I played in England. Bob Willis was great. I mean, Bob as a captain sort of it was very difficult for him because he's opening bowler, and poor Bob, when he walked back to his mark, you had Ian Botham changing the field. So Bob will set a field up, and then next month in comes Bob. Guy nicks it to third slip. Hey, I had a third slip. He said, "Yeah, you did, but it's on the hook now. We thought you were going to bowl him a bouncer." So it would have been frustrating for Bob, the late Bob. He was a wonderful guy, and I miss him massively. Then David, very sort of David's David really, and then we had Gat. Gat was sort of after that, and then Gucci. So they were all different in their ways, and how they got everyone. I think the big thing is a captain. You've got to get them playing for the team. You don't want loads of individual importance. So once you can get everyone to play as a team, then you've got half the chance of winning.
Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, Bob Willis was, he just came across as such a lovely person. He was a legend in terms of his verdicts after test matches and after every game. And he wore his heart on his sleeve, but he really cared about England, didn't he? That came across him.
Totally. I mean, he came as a manager on one of our trips, to the West Indies. And he used to have to put the ball into the bowling machine. We called it Fred. And he was firing at us, hitting us. We all had, helmets and stuff on, because those are the times we couldn't go and play on the. So we were in concrete nets because we weren't allowed to use, because it's the people had been to South Africa and that type of stuff. So A wonderful guy. He had such a sense of humor too. You know, he was very dry in that, but wonderful man, wonderful man.
Yeah, I think you speak for a lot of people to say that he is really well missed. And somebody else that you actually mentioned earlier who was also missed, which was a real shock, was obviously Dean Jones from Australia, you know, passing away just very recently. So
incredible. I mean, he lived for cricket. I mean, it was amazing. He rocked the boat in Australia. He should have been involved in Australia a lot more, I think, but didn't really. They didn't like this sort of administrators and that type of stuff. So, and they didn't buy to him really. But I mean, the guy was sort of Mr. Cricket, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we always used to call him the ledge, you know, because you know, this is how you got to do it. You know, if you look at his record, he did really well. But a great guy.
No, absolutely. And anybody that can complain to Curtly Ambrose about his armband, his wristbands, you know, he's obviously a brave man. Final question. This is a quick one, really, and then back to Daryl to close because we have gone past the 75 minutes. Obviously, you're a batsman of great talent. The best batsman that you ever saw, you know, either playing with or against the best batsman that you've seen in your career?
Well, it's got to be Viv, really. For guys that two very great players I saw that we never saw much of were Barry Richardson and Graham Pollock. I mean, these two I played against, they would have set the world alight if they'd played Test cricket. You know, Barry only played 4 games, but I mean, Barry, I'd put him right up there with Viv Richards. Viv was just incredible. I mean, he just came in, just murdered, killed tax. Where Barry would come in and you wouldn't know he's got 99 before lunch or he's got 100 before lunch because he just used to just milk it. You wouldn't know that he's scared. Where Viv came in and you felt the punishment because he just come at you and he'll blast you, just take on, hit you back over his head, book you, do anything. So to me, my 2 greatest are Malcolm Marshall as a bowler and Viv Richards.
Yeah, I think that's they're 2 pretty good names to finish on. Darren, I'm going to hand back to you to finish. Just from me, Alan, just a massive thank you for joining us this evening. I feel quite honoured to sort of speak to somebody that I do remember watching when I was a lot younger. Paul Fowler, yes, it is true. I was very young when Alan was playing, but that's not me saying that I'm a lot younger than Daryl. But you are one of the first sort of real legends that I remember, Alan. And I do remember, as Daryl said, you know, you punishing the quick bowlers and scoring lots and lots of runs. So it's been a real pleasure for me. Thank you so much for giving up over an hour of your time this evening. Really grateful. And I'll hand back to Daryl to close. But just before we do, as you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen, the Lord's Taverners Just Giving page is still open. Daryl's much better at pointing down than me because I always get it wrong. If you have enjoyed this evening, please do go to the Master Cricketer on the Just Giving page and just make a small donation. Alan, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I say it every week. So Daryl has offered to jump out of an aeroplane with a parachute as part of this charity. And my challenge is facing Simon Jones. So hopefully we'll raise lots more funds. And it's been brilliant having you on the screen. And I know that my dad, when he watches this back at some point later, he'll love it because he's cricket through and through, and he'll certainly remember your career. Massive thank you, Alan. And back to Daryl to finish.
I can't really add to that, Lammy. I mean, like I said at the beginning, true hand on heart moment for me. You know, you were a legend. I used to love watching you play. It's really interesting you mentioned Barry Richards because again, he was somebody that, you know, you put your cup of tea down on the side and really watched intently when he came to the crease. He was phenomenal. I used to love watching Barry Richards back then as well. So yeah, another legend, absolutely 100%. Yeah, big thank you. Thank to everybody who's watched tonight and asked some questions. #Ask the Mask. That's worked quite well. I've had my first wardrobe malfunction there, and I've just realised with this crook in hand, I look a little bit like Little Bo Peep. So that wasn't quite the look I was looking for. So, but hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. And as Kieran says, please donate if you can to that Just Giving page. Just search the Masked Cricketer. And also, because you've been watching, either on Facebook Live or YouTube. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's try and get up to 1,000 members on that if we can. Your support would be greatly appreciated. We might be able to get some money in off the back of that should we reach those figures. So thanks again for watching. Lammy, please stay with us offline. Just want to have a little quick chat with you before you go. So I'm just going to put the credits up. Thanks again, guys. And thank you very much to Lammy. What a legend, guys.
Just want to say, guys, I'm right behind you, and really make a donation. It could be 10 quid, 50 quid, whatever you can afford. It's a great cause, and you know, you boys are doing a fantastic job. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Daryl, can I just say this just to close? Allan, without a shadow of a doubt, you are definitely not the weakest link, without a doubt.
But on that note, we'll say goodbye. Stay safe, everybody. Stay with us, Lammy. We'll talk to you. Bye for now, guys. See you next week, 7 o'clock. #AskTheMask.
Bye-bye.